Hello everyone, welcome. John Cottrell here, and this is Soft Flow. This is a 60-minute gentle yoga practice. So glad that you're here. Good to see you all. So we are going to do kind of one of my favorites. I like going to hips, and there's so many hip openers that we can do in yoga, and it's actually kind of a go-to that I really like to do. So we're going to do some hip flexor release. So our hip flexors kind of right in through here, like the top of the thighs. They kind of connect right into the waistline, into our low bellies, and they tend to get tight, especially if you find yourself sitting quite a bit. So we'll be lengthening and stretching that part of the body. So we'll be holding some poses so they really get an effective stretch. So for our prompts today in our hip flexor release class will be, of course, something soft that you can sit on and perhaps kneel on. So just a blanket is nice, or even a towel that you can fold up, double up, that kind of thing. So a blanket, a couple of yoga blocks that always comes in handy. It's nice tools to sit on or bring the floor a little bit closer to you, or just a nice prop to help you feel steady in some poses. And so I know I'll be using these blocks for our hip flexor release. So maybe you've got something like that. A couple of hardbound books works well. I've got a yoga bolster. You don't have to have this. Maybe a pillow. Something soft. I don't necessarily bring this in as a part of the formal part of the practice, but it's nice for shavasana, for your lying down or elevating your legs, things like that. So just a big pillow or cushion is good. All right, so as always, let's go ahead and begin in seated. So find a comfortable seat, either sitting on your blanket or pillow or rolled up towel. Feel free to sit with your legs crossed. You can certainly extend your legs. Sit up nice and tall, and if you need a little extra support, feel free to sit up against a wall or up in a high back chair, just so you can feel that lengthening in your spine, sitting up tall and proud. Feel free to take a few deep breaths in and out. You'll breathe in deeply through your nose. You can exhale through your nose or out through your mouth. Do that one more time, just to get reacquainted with your breath. A reminder that breath is the foundation of your practice. It will help guide you through your class today. Slow, steady breaths. And you can certainly do this with your eyes open, just gazing forward or downward, not really looking at anything, just gazing out and beyond. Or you can close your eyes and just take your journey inward, listening to the sound of your breath, feeling your breath. And perhaps with your eyes closed, you can even imagine what your breath would look like. So you can even paint a picture in your mind of what your breath would look like. Give it color, shape, movement. Slow, steady breaths. This is our breathing meditation, really just to set our minds, prepare our bodies to really and fully connect. As you're able, breathe in deeply and just feel the breath rising upward to fill up your lungs. So a very expansive feeling. Filling up your lungs, opening up through the chest and heart space. As you exhale, you're going to draw your navel inward toward your spine. Just a gentle pulling inward action. It doesn't have to be too strong or firm, just an awareness of pulling in. It's a way to connect, really feel our center bodies. Again, as you breathe in, just feel the lifting and lengthening of your spine, nice and tall and proud. Fill up your lungs and heart. Exhale, draw belly in, that light contraction of your abdominal muscles, just for that added support and connection. Very nice. Slow, steady breaths. Go ahead and take 3 more breaths here, preparing our bodies to move, and we'll start with a very simple movement. When you're ready, just inhale and extend your arms out and all the way up into the air, completing that in-breath. Then begin your exhale and extend your arms out across the room and let them float back down by your side. Just take your time, just a gentle flow. Again, inhale, extend your arms out. Let them rise as if they're floating away. And exhale, extend the arms out and then bring them back down. Now go ahead and continue your movement and your breath at your own pace. Feeling the breath move your own body and paying attention to the sensations that arise in your body as you move in slow motion. So again, there's some good energy in the extension of your arms, reaching outward. You can even feel an energy moving through your fingertips. Experience the movement of your shoulders, perhaps a lengthening through the sides of your body. And of course, being aware of the breath. Go ahead and complete the breath that you're on right now, and then take 2 more breaths. Breathing with this simple movement, our moving meditation. No rush to complete. And when you are finished, you can just let your arms rest down by your side or in your lap, letting your shoulders relax. Just notice that shift, that change from dynamic movement to stillness. Whenever you come to stillness, like in this manner, just return to the awareness, feeling, and sound perhaps of your breath. Ready for our next movement. As you're sitting, you're going to bring your hands behind you, maybe just propped up onto your fingertips, so your shoulders start to draw back and allows the heart to open. Just going to lean back just a little bit into the hands and tip your chin up a tiny bit as well. With the shoulders pulled back, chin lifted, it just really provides a lot more space for your heart. We're going to take some deep breaths here. So as you inhale, just press into the ground with your fingertips. Feel the breath rising now to fill up your lungs. Very expansive feeling in the chest, perhaps a stretch quality across the chest from shoulder to shoulder. When you exhale, we're still drawing belly in, a connection to your center. Let's just continue this breath work and add and feel the sensations that arise in the body. Again, when you inhale, pressing into the ground with the fingertips, and energy might be shooting up the arms, opening up through the chest. As you exhale, draw belly in and maybe even squeeze shoulder blades together behind you. So a little bit more muscle engagement, certainly more muscle and body awareness in our seated mild back bend. Take 2 more breaths. After the second breath, just lower your chin so you're looking directly forward and just walk your hands toward yourself so you're sitting up nice and tall again, allowing your arms just to return to your lap and feel relaxed. Notice the feeling and sound of the breath. Since that was our mild back bend, let's take a forward fold, and the forward fold too can be very gentle. So you're going to place the soles of the feet together. So it kind of opens up the legs a bit. And here you can see that there's some space between me and the floor. So this is where you are welcome to place some props underneath you. Could be some small pillows, your books, or blocks, just so your legs can rest on those objects so they don't feel like they're just hanging out in space. Another thing you can do here, I've got my heels drawn in pretty close to my body, but that does put a significant bend in the knees. If that doesn't feel quite comfortable for you, you can always slide the feet forward so it's less of a bend in the knees and continue using the support here with the blocks or pillows. So I'm going to pull in just a little bit right there and just hold on to your legs wherever you feel most comfortable and natural. You're going to inhale and just feel yourself sit up nice and tall. As you exhale, draw belly in and start to hinge forward, leading with your heart and chin just a little bit, not too far. Again, just keeping it gentle and mild. Inhale, more extension through the spine at this angle, wherever you are. Exhale, draw belly in. It's really a way to support the body as you move, but very gently forward. So never big movements here. Just gentle, slow, soft. Taking your time, easing yourself into a pose, and really not needing to go too deeply into the posture. Just to the point where you have sensation that doesn't feel like it's going to be tiring or stressful. At the moment, I'm maintaining, for the most part, a fully extended spine. You're welcome to do the same, but you can also just lower your chin or even round your spine, which may allow you to lower just a little bit more without compromising the pose or feeling too stressed. You do want to feel some sensation in the inner thighs. This is a hip opener. You've got a good round in your back with the chin lowered. You might experiment with breathing into your back body. Just as when we were leaning back, doing our back bend, breathing into your lungs and heart space, we're still breathing into the lungs, of course, but really thinking of breathing into the back side of your lungs. Just imagine that sensation. You might feel the back expand as you inhale. And about 3 more breaths. Really taking the time here so we can introduce that release and stretch quality in the inner thighs, eventually working a little bit more towards hip flexors. All right, let's lift the chin just a little bit so it starts to re-extend the spine. And hands on the ground here to help press and support your way back up until you're nice and tall in your seat. And we'll pause here at the end, returning to stillness. Let's take our time as we transition. You can move your props out of the way here. You may want to maintain use of the blanket or towel that you might be using here for your kneeling posture. So come to a kneeling position, hands and knees on your blanket or towel. So we're here, ready for cat and cow. So we're going to inhale and look forward or slightly upward with an arch in the back, a little back bend feel. Then exhale, let's round it all out. Curvature in the spine, chin towards chest, pull belly button up towards spine. That's cat. We're going to inhale, tilt the pelvis back, which allows the belly to drop, arching the back, chin lifted. That's cow. Exhale, round it out. And then just continue breathing on your own, just flowing through these 2 poses, cat pose and cow pose, on your own, creating some good motion through the spine. The tilting of the pelvis gets a rocking forward and back feeling. This too gets into the hips, gets into the low back. With the exhale into cat pose, feel the belly button pull up towards spine to just encourage that core connection. Let's take 3 more breaths. Taking your time, when you feel complete, just return to a tabletop position, coming back to stillness, taking a breath or 2. Let refocus on the breath. If you are using a blanket or a towel for some padding, let's crawl off that pad and just set it to the side. We'll be using it again, so we'll keep it nearby. Come back out to hands and knees. And then step your hands forward so your hands and wrists are out from underneath your shoulders, and spread your fingers out pretty wide so you get the stretch sensation between each finger. A little extra press of the palms down into your mat to flatten your palms, which stretches your palms. And that energy should shoot up your arms so they're strong and straight. Tuck your toes under. Let's do another cat-cow. You're going to inhale to look up. That's cow. Exhale, round it out into cat, and hold cat pose for a second, because now we're lifting the knees and hips up into the air, straightening the spine, long torso, downward facing dog. I just reposition the feet. You can do the same with your feet and hands. Pausing for a moment, and then we're going to take a little walk. Look at this
space right below you and just walk into that space. Just step your feet forward on your mat until your feet are directly underneath you, flat on the ground, and then just slide your fingers toward your toes, and you'll be in forward fold. Now we're going to shift the weight back into the heels. Bend your knees as if you're sitting down and look forward. We're going to stand up here. Take your arms out to the side. Press the heels strongly into the ground so the legs are straightening. You're getting nice and tall. Then reach your arms straight up into the air. Hold there for a second, and then exhale, bring your arms down by your side. Hold here. Maybe circle the shoulders. And since we were on our hands and knees for a moment, you may want to circle the wrists and maybe wiggle your fingers just to get that counter stretch through the wrists here, okay? Now we are going to do another forward fold. We're going to hold that forward fold so we can get that sensation, okay? So our half salute with the hold of our standing forward fold. Here we go. We're going to inhale and get nice and long and tall by extending the arms up into the air. Exhale, spread your wings. Bend your knees. Imagine you're sitting back into a chair that's behind you. Let the knees bend as you carefully fold and bend. We're going in slow motion. And your hands will just come down. Maybe they land at your shins, but if you bend your knees more, maybe you'll touch your toes. Inhale, slide your hands up to your shins or knees to extend your spine. You might even weight shift out towards your toes and feel like you're coming forward. Then exhale, bend your knees, fold, bend, let that back round. And we're going to hold here. Now I'm all the way down. I can easily touch the ground, my toes. But if that feels a little bit too strenuous on your back or your hamstrings, then feel free to maybe walk your hands back up the legs. Okay, so you don't have to fold all the way down. Here's a way you can use your props, like your blocks or books, and just kind of lean into the blocks like this, taking some of the pressure off of the back, perhaps, the backs of your legs. So do what feels correct for you, what feels right for you, because it's always different. Each moment, each day can feel a little bit different when it comes to our forward folds or just any yoga pose, especially the familiar ones. About 3 more breaths and we'll get ready to move. When you're ready, we'll start that weight shift back into the heels. Bend your knees, feel like you're sitting down into a low chair. At the same time, you're starting to look forward a little bit, and that should flatten your back. Spread your wings, arms out to the side, drive the heels into the floor, stand up nice and tall, straight legs, long torso, and then finish by extending your arms right up towards the ceiling. Exhale, bring your arms back down by your side, right here. Good. Maybe another circle of the shoulders, wrists if you like to. Very nice. All right, let's go into our variation of Warrior One. It's our first lunge. We'll stand in mountain pose. We like to start with soft knees. So put a good bend in your knees. Keep that bend. Start shifting your weight into your right foot. Root down into the ground, okay? And start to lean forward just a tiny bit because we're just taking some of the weight off the left foot and adding some balance as you now step this left foot back just a little bit so your toes are still flexed back there and you're just on the balls of the foot. But there's a little distance between the feet. And you're going to pivot that left heel down to the ground, shift your body back so you're centered, right here, really planted on both feet, just like that. Place your hands on your hips. You want to feel like you're pushing your pelvis downward towards the ground. At the same time, feel your torso and spine lift and lengthen. This should give you a little space in the belt line so you can mostly face forward. Inhale and extend your arms up into the air, straight up, and exhale, bend your elbows to about 90 degrees, so a significant bend in the elbows. This is our variation, our first variation of Warrior One. We'll be doing a second version of this, but we'll get a little bit more in this hip flexor, okay, this whatever leg that's extended out behind us. Here, you may not be feeling a whole lot, and that's fine. We're just kind of practicing a lunge. Let's inhale, shoot the arms straight up into the air. Exhale, bring your arms down and place your hands on your hips. Shift your weight now into your front foot, bending that knee. So it's easy for you to step the left foot forward to match the other. We're going to stand up nice and tall, re-extend the entire body, taking the arms up into the air, and exhale, arms down by your side.
Ready to go for the other side. So again, a nice softness in the knees. Start shifting weight into your left foot. Nicely planted, good foundation. Lean forward a tiny bit and start tiptoeing the right foot back, keeping the heel lifted for a moment. And then turn that foot, plant the heel into the ground as your body shifts to center. Place hands on hips, push pelvis down. As you extend the torso, get nice and long and turn towards the front of the room. This will put a mild stretch quality in the right hip flexor now. Let's inhale, take both arms straight up into the air, then exhale, bend the elbows perhaps to about 90 degrees. We're facing forward. We're fully planted, hopefully balanced and centered on both feet. But of course, we are in a mild lunge, okay, with the right leg behind us. Let's inhale to shoot the arms straight up into the air. Exhale, bring the arms down, bring hands to hips. Lean forward so there's weight and pressure in your left foot so you can step forward, both feet together underneath you. Let's inhale, stand up tall, reaching both arms up into the sky. There we go. Exhale, arms return to your side. Another pause here. Always feel free to, when we come back to mountain pose, if you need to kind of move and shift and kind of shake things out, you can always do that. Alrighty, I'm just going to quickly adjust my mat, and we're going to continue with our sun salutation, breaking it down, and of course getting into our next variation of Warrior One. All right, let's move together. Inhale, reach high into the sky. Exhale, spread your wings and fold forward. A good hinge from hips. Place the good bend in the knees. Forward fold. Let the hands drop. Let the head drop. There we are. Inhale, slide your hands up to the shins or knees to fully extend your spine, a long, flat back. Exhale, fold and bend. Take your time. Bend your knees more. We want to get low enough so we can bring the hands to the floor in front. And start walking, stepping, both feet back. Take your time to the back end of your mat until we're in a high push-up position, plank pose. We're going to breathe in for strength, and the exhale to move. Bend your knees a little. Send your hips up into the air. Right away into downward facing dog. Take the time to adjust your feet and maybe even your hands so you feel pretty settled into the pose. Okay, let's continue. We're going to pick up the right foot and extend the right leg up and back behind us. Just reach through your toes. Let's feel the arms get stronger and straighter. When you exhale, bend your right knee. Bring that right knee in underneath you towards your chin. Shift your whole body forward so your shoulders are now directly over your wrists. Then set the right foot down. It'll be just your toes, really. And then set your left knee down onto the ground. This is going to allow you to literally reach back, pick up the right foot, and step it up a little higher on your mat. We're going to create more distance between the feet. Relift your left knee, pivot or turn that left heel planted into the ground. Shift your body weight back so you have a good enough pressure in that back foot so you feel grounded. Here, extend your torso long and straight out over your right thigh. Your crown or the top of your head is pointing directly forward. Begin to hinge from your hips. It's a lot of pressure, really, of pressing this foot into the ground. Strong thigh to help you hinge, standing up nice and tall. Go ahead and take the arms straight up into the air. And go ahead and exhale and bend the elbows again to about 90 degrees because we're going to hold this posture for a little bit so we can really get into this left hip flexor. Because we have more distance between the feet, you may have more sensation in that leg. Okay, we're going to stay in the lunge. However, extend the arms straight up into the air. Exhale, bring your arms down and bring them to your hips. We're staying here a little longer, okay? Now, if you'd like, if you want a little bit more sensation in that left hip flexor, you may just bend the right knee a little bit more. Okay, so you're kind of moving forward, which puts a little bit more distance in the legs, more of that stretch quality in the upper thigh. Okay, right below the belt line. At least that's where I'm feeling it. Okay? We'll be getting more into that sensation a little bit later, but I want you to feel or perhaps feel something new right there. Okay, we're going to take both arms up into the air. Inhale. Exhale, turn your torso now towards the left side of the room and bring your arms down to parallel. The legs really don't move too much. It's really just an upper body turn. It takes that stretch away from the hip flexor. Now it's going to be more in the right inner thigh. especially if we go into side angle, when we reach forward like this to angle the upper half of the body and rotate the arms. Even brace this right arm against the inner right leg, just a little push while the left arm extends into the air. That's going to emphasize more of that lengthening here, that inner right leg. We're not going to be here too long. We'll take a breath in. We're going to exhale and carefully turn to face the floor, fold and bend. Bring the hands to the ground, rise up onto your tiptoes behind you. Hold here for a moment. Remember this position because we are going to be coming back to it later. Okay, push into the ground with the hands. So we can easily, hopefully, slide the right foot back into plank pose. Breathe in. Exhale, bend knees, send hips into the air. Downward facing dog. Again, making adjustments with the feet and hands so you can settle into the pose and hold for a few seconds because we're going to move right away. Then inhale to pick up the left foot, extend the left leg up and back behind you. Doesn't have to lift high. Hands press strongly into the ground, strong arms. When you exhale, bend the left knee, bring it in underneath you towards your chest. At the same time, shift your whole upper body forward, shoulders stacked over the wrist. Set the left foot down and set the right knee down. Again, our opportunity to reach back, pick up the left foot, and place it up higher on the mat. Relift the right knee, pivot or turn right heel to the floor, shifting the weight back into that foot so you feel solid on 2 feet. Lengthen your torso straight out over your left thigh, crown forward. The pressure into the ground with the left foot, thigh will engage as you now hinge from hips, rising up. Reaching straight up into the air with both arms. Exhale, bend elbows. Here. So we're in our warrior one, much more distance between the feet. Notice what's happening in the right hip flexor. I'm really feeling this. I'm actually going to shorten my stance just a little bit because I feel like it was overworked just a bit. So always feel free to adjust. Inhale, extend both arms up into the air. Exhale, hands to hips. Alrighty. Now I certainly could have kept the feet a little bit wider, really gotten into that right hip flexor and stretched pretty deeply, but I felt like it was starting to stress it out rather than relax and lengthen, which is what we're really shooting for here, especially since we're holding this posture a little bit longer than usual. You can go a little bit deeper just by bending this front knee a little bit more, creating a little bit more distance between the legs. Breathing deeply. Let's go ahead and add on. We're going to inhale, take both arms up into the air. Exhale, turn torso towards the right side of the room. Arms come down to parallel. Just ensuring your left knee and toes are still pointing directly forward, right there. And let's take our side angle, reaching outward with the left hand. Let's rotate the arms so the left arm can come down and braced against the inner left leg while the right hand reaches into the sky. These good extensions up and down actually help the inner thigh release, that stretch quality. We're breathing in, and our exhale to carefully turn to face the floor, fold and bend, bring the hands down, rise up onto tiptoes behind you. Here's our runner's lunge again. Remember this sensation because we are coming back to it. Firm press into the mat with the hands so you can slide the left foot back, plank pose, hold, and then bring knees to the floor. Keep toes tucked. Just sit back into what I call half hero, just so you can get off the hands. And do a little circle here. And even press very gently the tops of the hands into the mat. Okay? And maybe with the toes, you're getting a little stretch for your toes back there. Okay? But not too forced at all, just very light and gentle. All right. Let's go ahead and sit to the side, actually sit on the mat and swing the legs around to the front. Let's get into our bridge pose. We'd like to add a back bend in our practice. Here is where you may want to bring in a nice big pillow or cushion or stacked books or blocks. Have them right next to you, ready to go. Go ahead and lie down. Lie down with your knees bent, feet flat on the ground. And let's just pause here for a moment. Really a little relaxed moment. We're halfway through our practice here. Just take a moment to breathe, sigh out through the mouth. Let everything relax so it's a moment for disengagement before we re-engage. Okay, ready for bridge pose, and it is a supported back bend for this version of our class. We're going to inhale to fill up the lungs. Exhale, pressing feet into the ground, allowing the hips to lift up off the ground, just high enough so you can slide your stacked books or blocks underneath you and then sit on those objects right there. So this is the support system that we've added to the posture. So we can just sit and pretty much relax here as the whole front body relaxes, okay? Or opens, I should say. We're going to hold here for several breaths, allowing the whole front side of the body to open up in a very gentle way. We are going to add something to this. Again, remember, we're focusing on hip flexors. Where my hands are on my legs here, I'm just right at the hip flexor region. All right, a couple more breaths and we'll add on. We're going to work one leg at a time for this next little piece. So we're still in our supported bridge. You're going to extend the left leg out in front of you, okay? Just let it lengthen. As it lengthens, you may feel a lengthening quality, okay? Kind of at the highest point, right at the hip area, hip bone maybe, okay? Just this lengthening in the upper thigh, hip flexor, and low belly. Just kind of lengthening here in this back bend sensation. A few breaths. You can certainly do this to both legs at the same time, but I thought let's do this one leg at a time because the other leg with the foot planted into the floor may provide a little bit of support so you don't feel like you're just kind of hanging out there. All right, let's go ahead and bend the left knee, plant the foot, hold for a moment to restabilize. And then go ahead and extend the right leg out in front. So the leg is on the floor, the foot's on the floor, I should say. Okay, but it's extended, lengthening that stretch quality in the hip flexor. Doesn't even have to be too active of an extension. Just lengthen the leg and still feel quite relaxed. That's probably one of the best things you can do for many of our poses. If you can feel relaxed in your postures, then the muscles don't feel too bound up and they're more likely to release, lengthen, and stretch. Okay, 3 more breaths here. And then we'll bend that knee so the feet are planted onto the ground. Now it provides the leverage you need to lift the hips, remove your blocks out from underneath you, and then slowly return to the ground. Let's go ahead and extend both legs out front and reach both arms behind you so there's a lengthening stretch quality right here. And then we're going to roll up into a ball. So bring both knees into chest and just hug them in gently. Now you can stay flat on the ground with the upper body, or feel free to lift your upper body so like you're bringing your chin up towards your knees, just a little bit of a lift, and maybe some gentle movements. I like circles here. You can rock left and right, forward and back, just to provide a little bit of a massage for your back. Alrighty, now we're going to sit up. Now you're welcome to rock forward and back, providing enough momentum to sit up, or you're going to do what I'm going to do right now, which is roll to one side. Use your hands to help lift yourself up. Okay, so just being very careful and aware of how you need to come up to seated. Let's go to a boat pose that I like to do in our soft flow practice, and that is, let's sit with the knees very bent, heels on the ground, feet flexed. Hold on underneath the bent knee area so you can sit up nice and tall, nice straight spine. Imagine you're sitting up against a wall. That's our inhale to get tall. Exhale, pull belly in, and imagine you're in a reclining chair and just leaning back, really not too far, until you feel like, okay, there's my abdominal muscles engaging. Okay, and so I can actually hold myself up. But you're also holding yourself up by holding onto your legs. And that's really as far as you really need to go to effectively work your core and abdominal system. You certainly can go back farther. You certainly can lift your feet up off the ground. But for soft flow, you know, we like to dial it back a little bit so you don't have to work as hard but still get a very effective result. 2 more breaths. All right, just come up. Let's come back briefly just to cobbler's pose or bound angle pose where the feet were together, knees bent. Just hold onto your shins or ankles and just sit up nice and tall, just for a breath or 2. All right, we're going to come back to hands and knees. So maybe lean to one side so you can swing the legs around back. Okay, so we're hands and knees. However, we're going to bring in that blanket again or towel, whatever you're going to use as your cushion. Okay, and place it right in front of your knees, and then just go ahead and just come up onto it, okay, with your knees. Tuck your toes and just sit back to that half hero. I'm going to show you another way you can use your blocks. If you probably don't need them, but just in case, just for a little extra maneuvering of the body, because what we're going to do is come up a little bit like this. I'm leaning to my right side. I'm just using the blocks to help me lean so I don't have to take it down to the floor, okay? I can just lean into the block because I'm stepping the left foot forward. So it's all step the left foot forward like so, okay? So my blocks are kind of like my walking sticks right there. And then you can then just bring both hands to your thigh right here. So we're nice and tall. And we formed 2 right angles, one with one leg and then with the other. We're getting into the right hip flexor, okay? So we are going to really wiggle this left foot way, way out. So there's no more of a right angle here, okay? I'm going to inhale and get as tall as I can up top. Exhale, send the hips forward. So I'm getting into that lunge. That's what's going to affect that right hip flexor. Okay, I can keep the toes tucked behind or flatten the foot, either one. I'm going to inhale and get tall again. Exhale and maybe lunge a little bit deeper. I really don't want to go beyond this line here. You can see my shin, this lower leg area is straight up and down. I really don't want to go beyond that. If I were to, I would probably just take this foot farther forward to lunge a little deeper. Now you can literally just rest. Those arms can just kind of rest on your thigh here and let the stretch occur. Okay, so you can stay up high like this. Or if you want, and this is truly optional, bringing the hands to the floor on the inside of this left leg. Now I don't feel like I'm well balanced here. I feel like my left foot's in the way, so I'm going to move my left foot off to the left side, way off to the left, almost off the mat. Okay, it's probably off the camera. You can't even see it anymore. And then my hands are on the mat in front, so I feel a bit more level and aligned here. So I've got the hands on the floor, but this could also be pillows or blocks, so you don't have to go down too low, okay? But I'm really just allowing the hips to sink to get into the right hip flexor. Okay, really play with this. What I mean is just really pay attention to how this feels, okay? Because you can certainly go deep, but again, paying attention to this, if this feels, or just question, be curious about what's happening here. Like, does this feel stressful? You know, is it harming me? Does it hurt? Alrighty, and if there's a yes or even a maybe just pull back a little bit. Okay, so there's less tension because you're still getting the stretch because we're still in the lunge. It just doesn't have to be too forced. Sometimes we think we have to go so hard and fast, you know, into these poses and go as deep as possible, especially in yoga, but that's really not the case. Perfectly fine and more ideal to keep it soft, gentle. Breathe deeply. That's another check-in point. Can you still breathe in and out deeply with that ease and calm that's both in your mind and your body? And then your body is going to naturally open up for you. All right, so this is a long time in the pose, and that's intentional. Let's take 3 more breaths.
Now this is a deep stretch, no matter where you are, even if it's soft in the body, it's still a deep, significant stretch. So we want to slowly come out of it. That might mean just lift the hips, start to pull back and out, go in slow motion. I've got this pillow here, so I'm just going to move it to the side, kind of leaning over to my right side so I can bring this left foot back in onto the mat, even slide it back a little bit. I'm going to go get my walking sticks. Those are my blocks over here, so I can get up a little taller over here on this right side over here. So I can lean into the blocks and just take this left foot back onto my knees. So I'm back onto my knees here. Maybe come up onto the knees if that feels okay. So it's nice to have something like this. This could be books, okay? I'm leaning over to my left side now. So I can step forward with the right foot. Now we're going to be working this left hip flexor, okay? So hands can come up to your thighs so you're nice and tall in the spine. We have our 90-degree angles, but we're changing the right foot and leg. So start wiggling the right foot way out front, just depending on how deep you want to go into the pose. You're going to inhale and get very tall here. We're trying to make space in that belt line so we can exhale and start to hinge forward a little bit. Not too far, too fast, okay? Hands on thigh. Just for support, inhale, get even taller. Exhale, if you'd like, maybe lunge a little deeper. Go to your personal preference, okay? And certainly incrementally, okay? Slowly. If you know that you are going to go deep and want to go deep, take your time to get there. There's certainly no rush. I'm just leaning forward. Okay, if I'm up tall, I'm actually in a back bend. When I lean forward like this, I'm out of the back bend, no stress to the low back. I'm just literally just resting on this right thigh. My deep lunge, feeling this left hip flexor stretch. I am going to go a little deeper by taking my hands down to the ground. Again, this is a complete option. I need to move my right foot off to the right side. It's even pointing out at an angle there. I'm going to bring in this cushion again because that worked nicely. Okay? It's just giving me a little bit more space to work with in my inner leg there. I had my hands, if I push my palms into the pillow like this, that's putting a little tension in my wrist, so you can even come to your fists. That works nicely there too. And then I can start playing with this sinking of the hips to get into that hip flexor. Some movement is appropriate to kind of massage that area. Check in, be curious, ask those questions. How does this feel? Is that too far? Is there tension? Let me back up a little bit and then ease back in. Rely on your breath. Deep breaths. Think of them as cleansing and clearing breaths. Clearing the way. Okay, if there's anything that happens to be binding up as an obstacle in that left leg, as an example, we're trying to clear that area. Breathing deeply. Do you still feel calm, centered, at ease? See if there's more room for relaxation in the deep stretch. Sometimes there's a time limit on how long you want to hold a pose or a stretch. If you feel like your buzzer goes off on that imaginary timer, then honor that and start to come out of the pose, okay? I feel for me, maybe 3 more breaths. You're certainly welcome to stay a little longer, or maybe you're starting to ease your way out. Once again, taking your time to come out of the pose. I'm just lifting my hips, getting up and back out of that deep stretch. I'm going to move my pillow out of the way. I'm leaning over to my left over here so I can walk this right foot back in. I'm going to grab my walking sticks over here so I can lift up a little bit. I'm leaning into the block so I can step that right foot back so I'm on my knees again. Nice and tall right here. Excellent. Let's go ahead and move into child's pose since we're pretty much ready for it. What I might suggest is just taking the knees a little wider, okay? And then start to slowly sit back and bring your arms out front. Here's some variations. You can certainly use the cushion or your blanket here for padding for your knees. Now your hips, typically they would go down to your heels, but they don't have to. You can just keep the hips up, maybe bring your head down to a block or even a pillow or your stacked hands. Okay, this is a variation of the pose. Take some of the tension off of the knees and ankles, maybe even your hips. But of course, you can certainly sit back and down a little deeper as it feels right for you. With your arms, here's some options. You can extend your arms straight out in front, which is typical, which kind of opens up through the shoulders, your back. But that certainly creates a little bit more energy. But if you want to soften this pose a little bit more, you can bring your arms down by your side like this, as if you're reaching for your ankles. And just let your arms just dangle here. Everything just comes to full release and relaxation. Ah, this feels so good. You don't have to engage as much. Holding here for several breaths. So just choosing the child's pose that feels right for you at the moment. That's what's so wonderful about our postures, is that there is not one way to be in any pose. Let's take 3 more breaths here. If your hands are behind you, you might want to bring them out in front so you can come back up onto hands and knees. Feel free to do another flow through cat and cow. The inhale is your cow, where you look forward, creating that back bend. The exhale as you round your spine into cat. That might feel good, actually. So maybe 2 or 3 breaths like that. All right. Then we're going to take another seat. So you might sit back and then down onto the floor. So you can swing the legs around to the front. I'm going to move my blanket out of the way. Sit in the center of your mat so you can roll down onto your back once again. This time you can hug both knees into chest. You can lie flat or even lift your chest or chin up toward your knees if you'd like to make that curvature in the spine, rolling up into a little ball, but that's optional at the moment. But maybe even some movement here. Circles, a rocking side to side, forward and back, or just holding in stillness. And since your feet are free, maybe inviting movement in the feet. Circle the ankles. Flex the feet, point your toes just to get into the ankles. And think about it, because we were doing some posture, especially those child poses, for example. Okay, gets into the movement of the ankles. Let's take a hip opener here. Here's a version of happy baby pose where you just take the legs wide. Okay, instead of taking the feet straight up into the air, which is certainly an option, maybe just take the legs wide and just hold on to the knees. That's certainly one version, or you're very welcome to send the feet up into the air. Let me just quickly demonstrate. Feet up into the air, holding onto the soles of the feet like this, pressing gently downwards so the knees feel like they're coming down towards the ground on either side of you. But I'm going to soften that. I'm going to release the feet and just hold on to my shins and knees for this version, because I still feel that stretch in the inner thighs. Let's get ready for a twist. You're going to bring the knees together again. And we'll send both knees over to the left side as you extend your right arm off to the right side. And this will create a rotation in the spine. Some deep breathing here for sure. This also can get into the hips. Certainly an awareness of how this feels for you.
2 more breaths. And when you're ready, bring the knees back up to center. Pause there so everything can realign after that first rotation. And then go ahead and take the knees over to the right side, extending your left arm to the left, creating that rotation. Nice deep breathing here too. A deep, cleansing, clearing breath. We're still creating a passageway, even though the focus is not necessarily on the hip flexors, which were our kind of our featured area. Every pose can certainly benefit from these deep breaths. Three more breaths. And then take your time to return to center. Let's do one more pose, and that'll be an extension of the legs up into the air, just an inverted posture. Just straighten the legs. They don't have to be absolutely straight. If you can see me, my knees are very bent. I'm holding on to my legs with my hands. Okay, just an opportunity to experience an inverted pose, and that's something that's common in a yoga practice. I try to add all of our elements, the crucial elements in our soft flow practice. All right, just 3 more breaths. We're not going to hold here too long. And then you can go ahead and bend the knees again, set the feet onto the ground, hold, let everything soften. And here's your opportunity to move into any pose to finish your practice. Now, what you could do is, if you have any other movement or stretch you would like to do first, go ahead and do that. Even a repeat of poses. It could be a twist or a hugging in of the knees, a back bend, hip opener, anything like that. But when you're done, find your relaxation pose. This, of course, can be Shavasana, where you're just lying flat on the ground like this. But since you have some props to use, feel free to use them as you'd like. Maybe elevate your legs with stacked books and pillows. Maybe place something soft underneath you. Or maybe the body's a little chilled and you want to place something warm on top of you. And that's not uncommon to do. If lying on your back is not completely comfortable today, you can certainly choose a different position. You can even lie on your side if that feels better, or even come up to a seated position. Wherever you are, just see if you can just settle in into stillness. Maybe close your eyes. Take your journey inward. Pay attention to your breathing. Slow, deep cleansing and clearing breaths. Feel your breath as it moves through your entire body. Listen to the sound of your breath. And as you're able, creating an image of your breath in your mind's eye. If your mind begins to wander, that's quite normal. Just acknowledge the thought that you're having. And then take a deep breath to help clear your mind. Return to the present moment. As we get closer to the end of our practice together, just remember that you're welcome to stay here as long as you need to, even beyond the time allotted for this class. Even as I end the practice, you're welcome to stay right where you are. Return to the awareness of your breath. And with this awareness, take 5 slow, deep cleansing breaths. And as you're breathing with this intention, feel movement gently return to your body. This might start with just some wiggling of your fingers and your toes. Eventually movement through your hands and your feet. And allow that movement to rise, just to float right up through your legs, up through your arms, along your torso, through your neck, and right up through the crown of your head. And as this movement returns, moving in slow motion, taking your time, carefully and slowly roll onto either side of your body, and holding for a moment in this nurturing pose, just on your side if you're not there already. And continue move with this slowness, guiding your way up to seated. Coming to a comfortable seat, and feel free to bring in something soft to sit on, like your blanket or towel or pillow. And sitting up nice and tall with the extended spine. Relax shoulders and arms just down by your side. Take several deep breaths here. Nice. One more movement together. Let's inhale and extend the arms all the way up into the air. When you exhale, bring your palms together and down to your heart. Return to stillness and take another deep breath in and out. And as we come to the close of our practice together, we bow saying, Namaste.